Well, we're live.
We're live.
Do you even want to roll?
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no fight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder.
Well, good evening. Yes, we're early.
Yes,
Somebody
we are.
didn't plan everything out, and apparently the restaurant manager wants to be a little sadist. So we went early.
Yeah. Well, because we have someone staying with us, and we do have to run them back and forth to work. And tonight they get off at 10 p.m. So if we start the show on time at 9:30, it's going to be very short.
Yes.
I don't know. Some people might like that.
I don't think we can do a short show.
Oh, come on. We could try doing the Mountain Bears.
The Meth Mountain Bears? No, thank you. I don't like Mountain Dew that well.
I'm just saying. We could see if we could do a 30-minute show and it'd just be the fastest show on earth.
Well, we could, but I don't think my baristas will like it.
No, probably not.
They like double shots of caffeine, not speed talking Aeson. It gets a little much sometimes.
Come on, you did Shotgun Taro and everyone loved it.
Well, I know, but when we're talking about some fun shit, it might not be the good thing.
Fair enough.
Now, there was some good news today.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
What we
the
got?
FBI released the affidavit. Now, I've seen this 38-page document. Why they released all 38 pages is beyond me. It could be summed up in about 5 words. He had our shit.
But basically. Well, yeah, but they have to establish some level of proof that or reasonable belief that he has our shit. Here's how we know he has our shit.
Right.
This is what is missing. This is what people have seen. This is what we think happened. This is why we think that. And just lay it out and go, if he doesn't have our shit, then someone who looks a lot like him does.
Right. And furthermore, we believe that he's about ready to sell our shit.
Ooh.
We believe he's using our shit for coffee table newsletters. You know, our HCS papers and our SI papers that are tied to our human resources and military and intelligence, and our SI information, which is monitoring the foreign communication channels.
Okay. Oh, but there was an extra lock.
Oh, well, fucking who? On what? The cookie jar?
No, sorry. I just love this one. Is the FBI, it's a bold item in this article, is the FBI did not consider Mar-a-Lago a secure place to store classified documents, even with the extra lock.
Exactly. Because the extra locks do nothing for the tunnel to the private beach access. They do nothing for the Chinese spy that was seen on property.
So Trump has repeatedly insisted that the FBI raid was unnecessary because he claims he and his legal representatives had previously been cooperating with the Justice Department in its investigation of the documents at Mar-a-Lago. In particular, he has noted that in searching the Palm Beach estate, agents broke a lock that had been added at the DOJ's request to a storage area that had housed some of the documents after a department official visited the property in June. Huh.
Huh.
So the affidavit unsealed Friday includes part of a letter a Justice Department official sent to Trump's counsel after that June visit requesting that the storage room be secured. Yeah. Yeah. The letter, part of which is redacted, explains that because Mar-a-Lago does not include a secure location authorized for the storage of classified information, the classified documents that have been held there since Trump left the White House in January 2021 have not been handled in an appropriate manner or stored in an appropriate location. Yeah.
So I have more security in my home for my planner than he did for his search documents.
Basically. I think, and it's probably worth noting, I'm pretty sure that Hillary Clinton had more security on her servers,
Yes.
both physically and digitally,
Yes.
than he even thought of.
Right. I mean,
for
the
these
only
documents.
one that had the code to unlock the door to the server room was the CIA.
Yeah.
Really, people?
Meanwhile, at Mar-a-Lago, you can access classified government documents if you can pick a lock. Because it doesn't sound like this is an extremely advanced lock.
No.
Or if you can break one off. Look, I get that there is a former president, kind of archive of things that usually goes with them.
Yeah.
I get that. I think all of us get that.
All right.
But typically, I believe we expect that to be handled with great care, especially for the most recent former president.
Right.
Not, just let's shove that all in a room and forget about it. No one cares.
Right.
And the best that we can do is ask for a second lock until we can get this, case in motion to get the documents recovered.
Right.
Because that sounds basically like what they asked for.
Right.
Because the rest of the letter goes on. Accordingly, the letter continues. We asked that the room at Mar-a-Lago where the documents had been stored to be secured and all of the boxes that were moved there from the White House to Mar-a-Lago, along with any other items in that room, be preserved in that room in their current condition until further notice. I'm pretty sure when the DOJ tells you to preserve something until further notice, they're getting ready to raid your ass.
They're going to raid your shit and own your shit.
Like, they're not comfortable, but they want you to preserve the evidence. Otherwise, you get charged with destruction of evidence.
Right.
So, they need to see it in situation, in situ, to be able to go, this is not secure.
Right.
So,
Well, and I do like it that Biden is going, not my detail, not my house, not commenting on this. Including the Twitter account.
Probably the best choice, one of the best choices out there.
Right.
Like, this is not a matter for the current president at all.
Or his Twitter account.
Or his Twitter account. I like that he's staying out of it. I think that's a good choice. Is just don't even. Don't take that victory lap.
Right.
Don't do it. Like, just let it roll.
I follow the White House's Twitter account. Do you?
I probably don't at this point, because I think I finally stopped in the middle, somewhere during Trump's presidency.
Well, I don't know who is handling the White House's Twitter, but I'm liking them. They've took some lessons from Wendy.
Ooh, okay. What we got?
Well, the person handling the Twitter account used to be the Twitter handler for the New Jersey governor.
Okay, so what? Chris Christie or we?
No, the one after him, the actual good governor.
Okay, the current governor.
Yeah. Um, so as you know, Biden forgave either $10,000 or $20,000 in student loans. Most of those will be automatic. Some of them will not. That's okay.
Oh.
Well, you know, the Republicans came out in force saying how completely unfair it is.
Oh yeah, no, like and pause. I just got to pause right there. Who the hell gets mad at student loan forgiveness?
Well,
And I'm sorry,
apparently Republicans do.
Okay, but let's talk about the generation that we keep seeing getting mad at this. Like, I'm sorry, this is a different ball game. There's a different point in time where it switches from you could work a part-time job and not even really have a good one, and pay your student loans or just pay for college.
Right.
Switch to, and then there's this future point where that became impossible. That the annual tuition at a college was more than anyone could ever make in a year without going to college.
Right.
And that's if you pay for nothing else. That's if you live at home with mom and dad, they foot your bill for every single thing that you needed, wanted, or desired. And you took every single dime of that money that you earned in that employment and put it entirely into your education.
Right.
Even then, you're going to owe money.
Right.
Like, that's where I was in 2000 at $18,500 for the first semester.
Right.
And it went up per year. Excuse me, it was 9,000 something per semester. It was 18,000 per year. No, what was I supposed to do part time?
Yeah.
I think that's most things that I could have done to pay for my college education are illegal.
True.
That would have made me, an 18-year-old, enough money,
right,
to pay for the education.
Right.
Like, please, someone tell me, was I supposed to turn tricks on a corner? Was I supposed to deal drugs?
Right.
That's the only two things that you can do at 18 years old.
Right.
Part-time, because you're a full-time student, and no.
Right.
There's only so much work you can do. You have to be available during the day to take classes. And then you have all the homework and assignments from those classes.
Right.
So tell me what I was supposed to do part-time to make that kind of money. Most of them are illegal.
Right.
So, hi. Anyway, continue with what Boomer says.
Well, it's not what Boomer says. It's what has occurred. All right, at most, an American can get $20,000 forgiven from their loans with this executive order. Keep in mind, that's $20,000 at most, with possible reduction in payments and cheaper interest, that type of thing. Then you have people like Marjorie Greene.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
That takes to the newsways, of course, to the favorite news sitcom called Fox News. And she's bitching and moaning for our government to say it's okay, your debt is completely forgiven. It's completely unfair.
Completely forgiven for who?
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm considered an elder millennial. $20,000 don't wipe out my student loan debt, okay?
Right.
It don't wipe it out. No, it puts a dent, a huge dent into my student loans.
Right.
Oh, you didn't wipe me out.
Well, get this. Oh, this is good. This is good, though. Miss Marjorie voted and was given forgiveness for a PPP loan of $183,504.
Oh. See, no, bitch.
Yeah.
No. No, you do not get to stand there and have your PPP loan wiped out, or a significant forgiveness of that to the tune of
No,
$100,000.
totally forgiven.
Oh, totally forgiven. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So not like my college student loans that $20,000 isn't even 50% up. Let
Right.
that sink in. I started college in 2000 and graduated in 2005. Yes, I was not a 4-year student. I took a semester off. It threw some things off.
Right.
But anyway, I graduated. But yeah,
Yeah. Mark Kelly, hello, your $987,237 PPP loan.
yeah.
Mullins, 1.4 million.
Totally forgiven.
Totally forgiven.
And they want to talk about us making bad choices.
Yes.
That's the other thing that gets me. What the fuck did you do with 1.4 million?
Right.
What did you do? More importantly, even if the government forgives you,
right,
you do realize you can write a check.
Right.
The government won't say no.
Yeah.
Like, they totally consent to, we forgave your loan, but you wrote a check anyway.
Right.
They're down for that. Like, you do not have to take the forgiveness. You can write the check.
Right.
In part, in full, with interest, whatever you want to do.
Right. What I'm finding highly interesting
is
we look at some of the heavy hitters, we look at a lot of the Republicans and the ones bitching about it on the Democrat side. They need to shut their mouth because your constituents tell you to.
And look, I'm not even really against it. I'm not even against you having your PPP loan. Let me point that out because, in case anyone is watching. My problem isn't that you had a $1.4 million PPP loan forgiven, or a $900,000 or $100,000 PPP loan forgiven. I don't really have a problem with that. Like, it was a really bad time for a lot of businesses. I really hope you used the money appropriately and didn't buy a yacht or a summer home. What I hope you did is everything we meant for the PPP loans to do. And I don't have a problem with forgiveness. I don't think anyone has a problem really with forgiveness. That we know as businesses, these are going to be big numbers. But at the same time, can you just please stop trying to screw the poor? Like, this is a really shitty political game that I'm sick and tired of being, unfortunately, caught in the middle of, because I don't make $500,000 a year.
Right.
Because that's where you start to get out of the poor that politics sees.
Right.
Like, politics sees anyone with $500,000 or less, and I am on the significant less side of that, less of income per year as being poor.
Right.
And it's a really big difference between having someone come at you at $450,000 of income per year and having someone come at you when you have not even hit $100,000, let alone you're nowhere close to 100.
Right.
Or you are, as a total household, maybe starting to think in those terms.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a real big difference. Real big difference. And you get down into the 20s, the teens of income per year, stop screwing the poor. This just really, I know there's a lot of us, and you really like making money off of people.
Right.
So you really like making money off a lot of people. But halt. Okay? All right? Stop making money off of us.
Right.
It's sickening and it's gross, and you do not understand what you are doing to people.
Right. But what I find so interesting is how levitating it is to see the White House start firing back at this bullshit.
Yes. Hell yes.
There is no business that is a small business that was just trying to survive that needed $1.7 million to survive.
Here's the weird part is I would understand some small businesses needing that amount.
No, Carol Miller did not need $3.1 million to survive.
Okay, but what's the business? Here's the problem: is what's the business? Like payroll adds up quickly. Unfulfilled contracts like pile up quickly. Like these are, you know what I mean? Is that some businesses like the money going out looks huge, and the money coming in looks huge, but you start subtracting one from the other, and you don't get left with a lot. Like you can spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year, or you can make hundreds of millions of dollars a year and have such a thin margin
Right.
that that hundred and this hundred they don't do a whole lot for each other. Like
Right.
you get left with like $10,000.
Right. I'm looking to see which business she owns.
Like you would think there would be a nice resource for this, wouldn't
Right.
you? Where you could just sit and see like what companies your representative owns, operates, and has a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, what hair salon is this shit?
Oh, it isn't a hair salon. It's a farm.
Oh no, that could be legitimate. That's exactly the kind of like thin margin business
Right.
that I'm talking about. Is and a lot of people don't realize how marginal farming is.
Right.
Like it's a shit ton of money that goes out and a shit ton of money that comes in, but when you wash the two against each other, it's thin margins. Our farmers generally live on thin margins.
Well, I'm looking up the business. I'll send it to you in private.
Okay.
You tell me this is a $3.1 million operation.
Okay. Now on the real estate side, she should be doing good.
Oh, on the real estate side, she's gone above and beyond.
Yeah, it should have been a real, crop buster.
She runs a bison farm.
Okay, so she has a bison farm.
Right.
And again, depending upon the size of this farm, it's kind of, yeah. So Swan Ridge and manages real estate. Okay. I'd just like to find information about the stupid. Like, here's the problem: is it's been brought up so many times attached to her, you can't just find information on the business.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Holistic livestock farm consulting. What the hell? The Honest Carnivore. Sorry, I'm looking at the website, I believe. But granted, this is Biffle Farms. Bison Farm, Riffle Farm. Oh, wait, sorry. No, sorry. That was totally unconnected. My sincere apologies.
All right.
All right. Let me put quotes around it and see if I can just. I'm just looking.
Okay.
Like,
well,
I know it's going to be a private
take
business.
A break.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvan.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth, I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not wearing any makeup. Well, one reason is to irritate my social media manager, Aeson Knight. Hi, Aeson. The other reason is because I like to get to the naked truth about what it means to be a neurodivergent LGBT person with psychic abilities. I've got vlogs, blogs, and podcasts and videos all related to trying to live my best life and helping witches and bitches do the same thing. So, you can check all that out and get a reading from Dottie the Psychic at DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and I am here to tell you how to get in contact with me and a little bit about what I do. I am the High Priestess that works with shadow work to help you grow and heal. And I work with access bars, Reiki, I do power forms. I'm recently getting into crystal healing, sound therapy as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, that is LadyGwendolynHealing.com. Book your appointment with me. I do in person, I do over the phone, I do over Zoom. We can do that as well. My main goal is to help you grow and heal, because I've been there, I'm still going through it, and I let my strength help guide you. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Aeson Knight. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonknight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that Call Now button there on my site. It'll connect you to Keen, and if you've not been with Keen before, you'll get 3 free minutes to talk with me, so that's great for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. Bye, y'all. And we're back. Did you find out how large this operation is?
No, I'm really struggling to find anything on her business at all.
Yes.
So but at the same time, I don't want to just sit there and be like, yeah, no, she totally didn't need 3.4 million. Maybe she did. Maybe she did. I'm not going to call it illegitimate until I can until I were to actually see the numbers.
We had restaurants go down that doesn't require 3.1 million. We had mom and pop shops that didn't go down that required 3.1 million. No. We cannot find a website. Can we find even a social media profile for a business that required $3.1 million?
Right. Again, probably going to be it's probably B2B. It's a business that sells to other businesses. Mm-hmm. It's like all the Tyson farms.
Right.
There's not just one big giant Tyson farm.
Right.
You know what I mean? Tyson buys business to business. Farmers create their business, mm-hmm. grow the chickens. Right. They are, licensed. I think they're growing licensed chickens, very specific chickens that Tyson likes. And then they sell to Tyson.
Well, actually, no, because we can go to Carl's Market and get the bison meat.
Okay.
I just literally popped up the website, and there's that. You know this place. This is the place that was giving away deep freezes if you bought $200 worth of meat.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Oh, good God.
Okay.
All right. So, potentially, And even then, I'm not entirely mad about it, but
Right.
don't throw your hypocrisy back on everyone who is sitting here struggling. Because I'm sorry, $125,000 a year?
Yeah.
Like, that's your cutoff to get your $20,000 or $10,000, whichever one it ends up being.
Right.
That's your cutoff. You cannot earn $125,000 or more
Right.
as an individual and benefit from this.
Right.
Okay, do you know how many people are below that?
Right.
More importantly, do you know what that means?
Right.
Like, I'm sitting here and going, no, that didn't wipe mine out. That isn't even half mine.
Right.
It isn't. It isn't.
It isn't.
But it puts me in a lot lower monthly payment.
Yeah.
One that, you know, I could potentially get to.
Right.
Because right now, just total, like, I'm sitting here on IBR,
Right.
income-based repayment,
Right.
at $0.
Mm-hmm.
The federal government says I do not make enough money to be expected
Right.
to cover my expenses
Right.
and repay this loan at this time.
Right.
So let me explain what happens with that and what I'm agreeing to every time I get that IBR approval.
Mm-hmm.
Is they're going to take all of the interest that
Right.
I would have paid for the next year.
Right.
This is an annual review process.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to take all of the interest that I would have repaid during this year and tack it on the end of the loan.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't the first time I've qualified for IBR.
Right.
Like, this is why this just keeps getting bigger. Now, what I would love is if you would go back to 2005 when this loan originated.
Right.
Because I did my consolidation like a good little boy when I graduated and thought I had a hope of repaying this.
Mm-hmm.
If you would go back to 2005
Right.
and retroactively apply that $20,000
Mm-hmm.
and knock out all the interest,
Right.
the amount I would owe
Right.
would be laughable.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what's happened, is that little 3% interest
Mm-hmm.
that I have, it doesn't sound like much, but that's 3% annual
Right.
interest, tacking on to the end of the loan over and over. Like,
Right.
trust me, I wish I could. I wish that in my career I had been able.
Right.
But, and I started to in the very beginning when I had 100% employer-sponsored health, when we were, you know, not paying ungodly sums of money for gas, when I was actually, you know, capable of affording things before inflation hit and, you know, wage stagnation
Right.
became this corporate line.
Right.
No raises. Like, we had, hi, welcome to 2005 to today.
Mm-hmm.
We've had an amazing year and record profits. There will be no raises and no new hiring.
Mm-hmm.
This became a corporate mantra. We
Right.
heard it over and over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what my company did. I got raises for the first year. I got two raises
Mm-hmm.
from what I started at. One, I literally got because I pointed out that based on the number of hours that I worked, I made less than minimum wage.
Right.
The second one I got, I think, was to ensure that no matter how many hours I worked, I could not make that claim.
Right.
And then I never saw another raise the whole time I was there. Neither did anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Except my manager. My manager,
Right.
for doing this, got $5,000 in 1 year.
Right. So, you know,
I have a little
MG,
Mhm.
you know, also funded her campaign off a PPP loan.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, how'd that work?
She took the PPP loan, paid herself through her company,
Uh-huh.
and then donated $450,000 to her campaign.
Okay, tell me how that was legal. Or more importantly, can we just talk about PPP, forgiveness and the fact that it's mostly been used so we don't have to see politicians and business owners go to prison for screwing this up. Like, you let me show up for $1,000 and do anything wrong with 1 penny of it.
Here, I'm sending this to you. Hi, Amy. How are you, honey?
Well, I have a rest of sentence, but let me take out a $1,000 grant from the U.S. government and do something wrong with 1 penny. The federal government will give me a colonoscopy for free.
Right.
Because they will go through every step of my life and everything I have done wrong to prove that not only did I misspend that penny, but I now need to pay penalties.
Right.
But you hand someone $400,000, you hand someone $100,000, you hand someone $1.x million or $3.x million, and then it's like we're not even going to ask for it back. No, because when we ask for it back, we're going to get told things that we don't want to know because we're going to have to lock people up. That's a moment. That's a moment. And that's also considering the number of companies that received PPP loans that shouldn't have. We knew that occurred.
Right.
We knew that banks were giving preferential treatment to customers and doing the paperwork for them. And then shutting out smaller businesses and smaller companies.
Right.
Like if you were a sole proprietor, you didn't get a PPP loan, most likely.
Right.
If you were a LLC or a standard corporation, you might have gotten a PPP loan for a very small amount.
Right.
If you were a large enough company and you made your bank happy, you potentially not only didn't even have to touch the paperwork other than to sign it, because they filled it out for you, but you got the highest levels of PPP funding.
Right.
And basically the federal government then turned around after the first few cases of someone bought a truck, someone bought a house, someone bought a this, someone did that. They went, never mind, we don't want to know.
Right.
Like, don't file, don't tell. Like the new don't ask, don't tell became PPP loans. Is we don't want to know what you did. We don't want to know whether or not you can afford to pay it back. And look, we're not even going to ask you to pay it back. It's just, we're going to forgive this because it suddenly became the biggest fucking joke.
Right. But us sole proprietors got shit. Half our business. I was on the road 4 weekends out of a month.
3 to 4.
Yeah.
Like it was a good month if we were not on the road 2 weekends.
I didn't qualify.
No, we didn't qualify for shit.
Yeah.
Like, and realistically, okay, at the time, part of his business is network, part of his business is in-person events. In-person events are gone. There went a good chunk of our income. Meanwhile, I'm IT. Part of my business is is literal online. I'm creating websites. Part of my business is going to customer site.
Right.
Is directly touching customer equipment.
Right.
Like, now, I will say there was a small boom when everyone went online, but it was immediately backrushed with a giant bust.
Right.
In which originally, yes, there was a spike in my business because I need a computer from somewhere now. Or I have this really old crappy laptop and my student needs to be able to get online and our county can't come up with shit either.
Right.
Can you please?
Yeah. And those we done for free.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here going, this is a shitty situation, and I'm gonna like do everything I can to help you.
Exactly.
Like, and again, I'm not looking for like a PPP loan to go, thank you for being a good human.
Right.
Not that. It's just like, no, hi, you don't understand what it did. It decimated my business.
Right.
There for a good while. It decimated his business. We had to pivot and shift.
Quickly.
And and it was ugly.
Yeah.
It was very ugly.
Now let's take a look at Miss Marjorie Green,
Uh-huh.
who gave her campaign $450,000 after getting a PPP loan.
Girl, you weren't hurting.
No.
That's what I hear is you weren't hurting. You didn't need money. You did not need a cash infusion.
Right. Now, granted, it's a family construction company.
Ugh.
Family construction company that her name went off of in 2012 and came back on in 2019.
Long enough to get a loan.
Mm-hmm. Green's loan was $900,000, donated $450,000 to our campaign 2 months after the PPP loan, according to the election committee results. Because they have to say where, who donated what. Her own opponent in the Republican primary, Josh Coward, raised questions about the donation during the campaign.
Yeah, as one should.
Now, granted, she didn't want to pass COVID relief emergency funding for businesses, but your business soaked up a good 2 loans there, darling.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't, do that.
Well, here's my thing, though. I really hate this idea that on one hand, you can, as an ideological philosophy,
right,
have a problem with the guy sitting on the corner playing his guitar for spare change, or, the woman with 3 kids who gets Medicaid and food stamps, or the student borrower who, in an economic kerfluffle of epic proportions, in which the wage and earnings income potential took a nosedive, at the same time, tuition rates skyrocketed.
Right.
You can look at all of those and be like, fucking die. Like, no, I'm not giving you change. You shouldn't even be on a corner. Lock them up.
Right.
You should not be on Medicaid. You shouldn't have had kids that, you couldn't afford to have. Go die under a bridge. Look at student borrowers and go, well, you should have made better choices.
Exactly. But you as a business owner should have made better choices. Well, you as a congressman should make enough money to pay back your PPP loan for your little family farm or for your little campaign. And I don't know, I haven't seen a construction company yet that isn't able to float their payroll for a season.
Generally. Like, again, construction, it has long-term been a tight market. But then again, at some point, you should have enough resources. Like, depending upon how young the company is and how, like, tight they are right now. Like, because it is a thing that happens with beginner construction companies.
Right.
But if that company's been around for a decade, you've done effed up. If your business cannot float.
Right.
Like, you've really effed up. But moreover, that's fine.
Right.
That's what this money was for.
Right.
I don't have a problem with you using it to float your payroll.
Right.
And get out of an economic kerfluffle. The size of a panini.
Right.
That's fair. I'm fine with that. I don't care what you made last year or the next year or any other year after that. I don't care. My problem comes back to that wasn't meant for you to personally take $450,000, put it in your campaign,
right,
and then move forward.
Right.
Like, did you have or did you not $450,000 before the PPP loan?
Right.
Now, if the business received
Mm-hmm.
450,000, 900,000, whatever number it received, and your personal assets remained untouched, you deposited nothing, you withdrew $450,000, I don't even technically have a problem with that.
Right.
But if you use that business
Right.
to split $500,000 to
Mm-hmm.
the business and the other people in it,
Right.
and $450,000 direct deposited to your account, which you then withdrew to
Mm-hmm.
sponsor your campaign. Oh, I got a big problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should all have a huge problem with that. That has elections problems written all over it.
Right.
Because even if that's not really what happened, that's
Mhm.
exactly what looks like happened. Is
Right.
he paid for your reelection?
Right.
That's not supposed to happen.
Right.
So, anywho, hey, Lady Gwen. Hey, Amy.
And it's really interesting, this bison farm that's in such high production.
Okay.
You can't find anything on it. Like, where do I see where they're producing meat and selling it to a local market.
Mhm. Well, and West Virginia has a lot of those companies that you really have to be concerned over. We have cottage industries all over the place.
Right.
Like the mines alone.
Right.
Like, going through West Virginia, there's a lot of companies that really don't exist.
Right.
They exist, they employ people, they do things,
Right.
but they sell to one company.
Well, none of that,
That's
but
it.
I'm
That's all
sitting
they
here
do.
looking at pictures from her on her campaign site,
Uh-huh.
and it looks like it's a little barn, not a factory.
Your tiny barn?
Yeah.
Like, is it bigger than a tractor?
Honey, my house is bigger than this barn.
What the hell?
Here.
How many bison could you keep in this house? 30, 40, 50? Like, and I don't think bison's worth more than a couple thousand a head. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just sitting here going,
You tell me.
I mean, depending upon how far away she is from it, that's a really small barn.
Yeah.
Looks like a large chicken coop.
Right.
But, maybe there's other facilities, and this is just that cute homespun West Virginia down-home image she was trying to sell.
Yeah.
Go stand in front of your utility barn where you park your truck
Mm-hmm.
and sell this image of Americana, not the great big giant, 10 metal-sided, monolith in the middle of a field
Mm-hmm.
where you keep thousands upon thousands of cattle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be about theory.
In Huntington is where it's located at.
Mm-hmm.
There is no website for it. The only thing we can find is a meat packing a small town butchery.
Yeah. That acts as its meat packing plant.
Who gives you our deep freeze if you buy more than $200 worth of meat.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, what is the head price on bison? Because I don't think it's that high. That wasn't what I should have asked. Sorry, things I know in my life. Oh, wow. Wow. Bison startup and investing information. How you know? So, all right. Oh, that's the peak at Oh no, I was right. It looks like.
Well, current prices for unfed grass-fed bison is $4.80 a pound.
Right. But no, calves are current price ranges for healthy average commercial animals sold at, this is apparently really old. Um that's from 2000. They were at about 2000 a head.
Right.
Like, how much does a bison cost? All right. No, I was actually right. Based on 2017 and auction averages, yeah, a heifer calf is 2250. And a 2-year bull, no, excuse, yeah, 2-year bull is the most expensive at 3,700. So price per pound is anywhere from $5 for the heifer calf,
Right.
up to $3.95 for a yearling bull.
Right.
And everything after that is, if you do a per pound price, it's lower, but the total price is higher because it's a bigger animal.
Right.
Like, it's one of those weird numbers.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like, bison is about 2,000 a head. It's
Right.
a good roundy number. So for $3.4 million, like, I just want to see the calc on that. So that was, sorry, 3.4 million, 3,400,000.
No, 3,100,000.
Oh, 3.1.
Yep.
Oh, let me move my calculator because it's in the divide of my screen and I can't tell crap. All right, so divided by, let's just call it 2,500.
Right.
Oh, did it do divide? It did not do divide. Divided by, no, clear. God damn you, calculator. 3,100,000 divide by 2,500.
Right.
That's 12,040, or that's 1,240 head of cattle.
Right.
Theoretically, if she's running a decent sized farm, then that was a small loan for her business. I hate to say it.
Right. But she's bitching over $20,000. That'll benefit the people of her state.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, basically, what she's getting mad at is what, about 15? Let's see, $20,000.
That's max.
Divided by 2,500, which is what we just said was about the average cost of a head.
Right.
Oh God, she's so mad that the entire state of West Virginia, every person with a student loan that makes less than $125,000 a year, just got 8 head of cattle in her brain.
Right.
That's what she's mad about. 8 bison per person.
Right.
8 bison per person. I mean, for us, it's not even a huge, like, it's a huge handout. Excuse me. For us, it would be a huge windfall.
Not really.
It is.
No, I mean, because, I've worked and paid down my loan, and when I can get it to be collected.
Yes. Like, you have the worst servicer.
Right.
I mean, granted, mine is pure Satan, but yours.
I'll collect a payment. I have to let it go into a default and then make a double payment on it.
Yeah. So that you can, because the default servicer, the collections agency that becomes the default servicer, can actually do scheduled automatic draft.
Right.
Your normal servicer, who handles it when you get it out of default,
right,
cannot do automatic draft.
Right. So I'll have a lovely, if I get approved, because we'll see, I will get a lovely $5,000.
Oh yeah. Well, still,
yeah,
it's $5,000 we don't own.
Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
you will still have another $36,000 as of the statement I saw this morning.
Yes, and as they are always so kind to remind me,
Yeah.
they can't give me a price unless I set, like, I've asked this question before, what's my payoff?
Uh-huh.
And they, like, on the phone with them, and they're like, unless you can tell us an exact date and time that you intend to pay it off,
Uh-huh.
we can't really give you that information, because it grows by like a quarter and something per day.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sitting here going, talk about being assholes. Can I just tell you, I'm talking to my loan servicer, and all I wanted to know in that moment, because this was when I was making payments, and I just wanted to kind of feel a little accomplished there.
Uh-huh.
But let me like tell you how demoralizing, how absolutely deflating it is when your loan servicer won't even just tell you a payoff amount,
Right.
so that you could feel the little bit of accomplishment, because it grows by a quarter a day.
Yeah.
And so literally, like, since that conversation, I have just seen it as one quarter goes in a jar every single day
Uh-huh.
towards the balance of this loan, just day after
Well, now I know
day.
what to label the white bear bank.
Basically,
Joe's interest.
Joe's interest. Like that, it really screws with your head when someone tells you that, because you're sitting here going, I just wanted a round ballparky number.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this wasn't a stack of Bibles court number. I didn't need that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I made an X $100, like I think $125 payment today.
Uh-huh.
What did that do? So that I can feel that little moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman on the phone flat refused to give me that information.
Yeah.
Because it changes every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, thanks.
Right. But,
everything.
But here's the thing. Every year we do a net worth calculation. For those that do not know what net worth is, it's where you take your assets and your liquidity and you apply it to your liabilities. Your loan is a pain in my fucking ass.
Uh-huh. It's huge.
Well, no, it's not only huge, but I have to look at 4 statements and take an average.
No, just the 2.
No, the 4.
Well, no, there shouldn't be 4. There's 2. Because this is how screwed up they are.
At your loans
mm-hmm.
for 4 months of statements and take an average.
Oh, no. I see what you're saying now. Sorry, because here's what happens. Even though I did a consolidation loan, like, I hate my servicer. Let me explain why. I did a consolidation loan in 2005 like a good little boy.
Mm-hmm.
I consolidated like all of the loans, and it was supposed to become one singular loan. Mm-hmm. That is not what they did. What they did was divide that loan into 2 separate parts that they independently report on my credit. One loan payment is all I'm due. One loan is how they refer to it. But when they credit report it, it is 2 separate accounts divided by federal funding source.
Well, I have a quick question.
Did
you get a Pell Grant?
Yes, I got Pell Grants. I got a Perkins loan. I then got a, I forget what the other one is. Stafford loan? No, not Stafford.
Yeah, it is Stafford.
Okay, sorry. I never can remember. That's the one my brain just always goes, what's the fuck?
Well, here's my question. This is what I'm going to love watching play out. If they're going to do the Republican game on it.
Yeah.
And you get $40,000 forgiven for the 2 loans.
Oh, see, I don't think that's going to happen. I would love for that to be the turnout. Like, show up with $40,000, drop it like a house on my fucking student loans. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't have that much hope.
Right.
I don't have that much hope. Because even though it's 2 separate, because it's the Stafford loan and the Perkins loan.
Right.
I think that's what they are. Don't ever quote me on that. I would have to be looking at the paperwork. And I try not to do that because it makes me cry.
I know. That's why I look at it every time it comes in.
But no, so back to why I hate my servicer, because it is two separate components to my consolidation loan. Heaven help me if I miss a payment. They don't report one missed payment, they report two.
Exactly.
And so if I miss a payment for 2 months, they report 4 missed payments. If I miss it for 3 months, they report 6 missed payments.
Yeah, it's real fucking dirty how they do it. All right. So,
like, I've watched that tank my credit score. I missed one fucking payment. One fucking payment. Tanked my credit score. Absolutely. Like, again, talk about things that make you want to just go, fuck it, I'll default.
Right. Because then at least you get a fucking servicer that'll call you on the phone, collect your information, and they process the damn payment perfectly. It comes out on the day. It's the exact amount. They're very happy. They even text you or call you to say, we got your payment.
Oh, they will gladly set me up for auto pay. The problem is, yeah, they'll totally do auto pay. My servicer, they'll gladly set that up. Let me tell you what happens, though, if you call them and you're like, look, I'm short this month, because I had that happen. Back in like 2006, when all this started going cattywampus, for me, in 2006, when the little bit of increase in income I got did not offset all the increased expenses I had, because fuel went up and inflation drove everything up. And then my employer decided to do an 80-20 split on our healthcare premiums. Yeah. So when I called them and said, hi, I'm a little short this month, they went, well, that's your problem, isn't it?
Right. See, that's the difference between a loan servicer and a loan collections.
They have absolutely acted like a debt collector in every sense of the word.
Right.
They are not a loan servicer. They do not start with the assumption that you can pay this back, that you will pay this back, that you are going to pay this back, that you have any honorable intention towards them.
Right.
They do not act. They have never acted. And this is College Foundation in North Carolina. I will fucking blast your asses. I don't give a shit anymore.
You have treated me like my damn ass.
They have treated me like garbage. Up until, not that they've gotten a whole lot better, but up until the beginning of the income-based repayment. Until those started, they treated me like garbage.
And they still do. They treat your husband like garbage because, here's the fun part, I can't pay his student loan.
No.
He has to pay it. Even on a joint account, it has come out of his account.
Yeah. Like, no, it's a total mess.
There's a fucking shit show. Speaking of shit shows, Boston Children's Hospital has gotten so much anti-LGBT harassment, it is ridiculous.
What? Did they do something? Or was this just like some bullshit?
Libs of TikTok posted an audio recording which the hospital staff apparently says that gender-affirming hysterectomies have been performed on minors, which is false. It's been false information. It was edited information. This is false information.
Okay.
Oh, the anti-LGBT went fucking nutcase on it.
Okay. So basically it started with someone talked out of their ass. They didn't know what they were talking about. And said that a hospital was doing it.
Right.
So then the anti-LGBTQ, especially anti-trans people, showed up en masse protesting this idea.
Oh, no. They've sent bomb threats. They've Twitter blasted them. They've Facebook blasted them. They've TikTok blasted them.
So just to follow, this is a children's hospital.
Right.
Children's hospital. You know, where children with cancer go,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming.
Yes.
Child burn victims go,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Like, do you want to know what a bomb threat does in that environment?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you really think that's the appropriate response?
Right.
Like, I don't think a bomb threat's ever appropriate,
Right.
but there are some environments that it's like, oh no, you don't do that.
Right. The other part of
Absolutely.
this and what people are not getting is just because it says children's hospital doesn't mean they only treat children.
True.
It's a functioning hospital.
Yeah.
Fully functioning with multiple doctors and multiple things.
Mm-hmm. But they have specialists on staff who work very strongly with children.
Right.
They still have a general ER and a general admit.
Right.
But then, like, they work on very specific children's things.
Right.
And you're going to bomb threat them.
Right.
Like, no, we do not bomb threat hospitals ever.
Right.
I don't think a bomb threat's ever appropriate.
Right.
Like, do not ever misconstrue this. But I have more leniency.
Right.
To the idea that you're going to threaten somewhere that does not harm children.
Right.
That does not sow chaos and confusion for children, especially suffering children.
Mm-hmm.
I can be far more lenient with your bomb threat.
Right.
If you direct it at adults.
Right. What they do is provide gender-affirming care.
Mm-hmm.
Medical, psychological, primary care.
Mm-hmm. And let's go over real quick what that means. They don't dead name you.
Yeah.
If you are female transitioning to male, they do not call you by your female name.
Right.
That is gender affirming care.
Yeah. Medical supported care. What's that mean? That means that they get the proper medications. They get seen by normal doctors. They get talked to like humans.
Yeah. Instead of abominations.
Right.
Like, please understand how important that is for kids.
Right.
Like, as adults, we can argue all day long.
Right.
About whether or not it is appropriate.
Right.
But we don't do this with children.
Right.
We do not do this with children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you do not understand how often these are communities of kids that are on the borderline of suicide. We want this. You can argue with a living adult that you feel does not make choices regarding their gender.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot argue with a dead child.
Right.
So I don't care what side of the argument you're on.
Right.
Protect the child, keep them alive. You can argue later.
Right. You can whine and bitch later. But I just wanted to see if how long it takes to transition, because it used to be 15 years.
Well, but that was in an environment in which there was zero, almost zero, gender affirming care available anywhere, adult, child, or otherwise. Like, it didn't matter.
Right.
Wherever you went, no one thought, like, you were at best finding someone who at least slightly understood and was willing to provide basic care towards gender affirmation.
All right, so 5 years is the new one.
Mm-hmm.
This is without funding and fundraising and sending them to China. Is it Bombay? It was
halfway around the world.
Halfway around the world to pay for the surgeries. and then
Well,
do
or
it in a power weekend.
to even
Or-
think about getting the surgeries.
Right.
Like this was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And often led to problematic care.
Right.
As in, you had people,
Mm-hmm.
because if we can't agree on anything else, there's still people.
Mm-hmm.
Trans people are people
Mm-hmm.
that were so abused by our healthcare systems without gender affirmation
Mm-hmm.
that they sought anyone, anywhere, at any point to get gender affirming care to help create the body that they felt they were wrongly born into, become the body that they should have been born into. And with that came a lot of people who took advantage of this population.
Right.
And did horrible, monstrous things to them.
Right. So I just brought this up, and then it brought up a fact that I wasn't even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Taiwan is where the surgeries used to go. It was $125,000 for the trip and the surgery and everything else, and you can get it done in a 2-week span. Okay. That's a lot of fucking money if you back in the 80s.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
so Taiwan performs the most sexual reassignment surgeries, followed by Iran.
I could kind of follow that one.
Followed by Iran. Really? Iran, you know, the nuclear place that's starting to bomb us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but here's the whole thing though. This is the basics. Like what we're talking about is not immediately about surgery. It is not immediately about drugs. It's not immediately about permanent changes to the human body.
Right.
This is recognizing that someone is still human and still deserving of care.
Right.
Regardless.
Right.
So, okay, we're going to take this and we're going to tackle this head on.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to find you a counselor.
Right.
So that you can talk about this. We are going to not dead name you.
Right.
We are going to affirm your identity. We are going to accept that who you say you are is who you are. We are going to start the process.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, continue to treat you like a human.
Right.
We are going to continue to treat you like a human in situations that do not involve your gender, other than as a checkbox on a form.
Exactly.
Trans kids get appendicitis. Trans kids get strep throat. Trans kids get colds and flus and, paninis. All of these things happen to them. They should not be, treated like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Adults should not be treated like garbage while trying to get general medical care.
Mm-hmm.
Because a shitty human being says, let's make a joke.
Right. Let's falsify information.
Mm-hmm.
Do you perform this surgery? Yes. Do you treat trans kids? Yes, we do treat trans kids. Let's clip and change that
to we perform this procedure on trans kids.
Mm-hmm.
No. And even if
mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are situations in which that needs to occur.
Right.
Based on their specific medical condition, not solely because they are trans.
Right.
Like, that's an important distinction.
Right.
That's sort of like the difference between someone has a heart attack and they are overweight and obese.
Right.
And someone had a heart attack because they are overweight and obese.
Right.
That's two very different things. And one does not always speak to the other. And you need to be very, very careful about what you're talking about. Because, like, take, for instance, one of my exes. You would look at him, and when he said, I, had a heart attack, and you look at him, and he is 300 and some pounds, you would think he had a heart attack because he was overweight. Problem with that is when he had his heart attack, he was a basketball player in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he literally was dead before he hit the ground, and they revived him.
Mm-hmm.
He survived a heart attack and found out that he had a very serious congenital heart problem.
Right.
That he was born with. Before he ever put, bottle to mouth or breast to mouth, I don't want to know what, it doesn't matter. Before he ever picked up his first fork,
mm-hmm.
before anyone made nutritional choices for him,
right,
he was going to have a heart attack. He had a widowmaker heart attack in the middle of a basketball game.
Right.
He was not a big dude at the time he had this heart attack.
Right.
He literally had a heart attack because of a malformation in his heart. His life since then, and the struggle that this condition created, led to the weight gain.
Right.
But if you just look at him and go, well, obviously you had the heart attack because you're fat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you are so mistaken.
Right.
No. You have got the wrong chicken egg order there, buddy.
Right.
And that's the same thing. Is just because you are trans and you have a hysterectomy,
mm-hmm.
you didn't necessarily have a hysterectomy because you're trans. Let me tell you, in this country,
mm-hmm.
there are a shit ton of people who will have a hysterectomy.
Right.
Because there are multiple conditions that are best treated with a hysterectomy, and they have nothing to do with being trans.
Right. Endometriosis being one of them.
Endometriosis, or I never can pronounce it. Endometriosis.
Me either.
You're right. I'm sorry.
All right.
PCOS, that's another one.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Polycystic fibrosis.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. The puberty hits, and when it hits, it can destroy a young man or a woman's life.
Yeah.
All right. So, I normally give law enforcement a wide berth. I normally measure them up to bounty hunters because I've worked with bounty hunters. I know their operational behaviors.
Okay.
However, Marshall County, you guys are fucking fugitives.
Sorry, was that Marshall County? Or the United States Marshal Service?
U.S. Marshal Service is investigating it.
Yeah. Well, and appropriately, this all occurred in Nutter Fort.
Yes.
Virginia.
I love it. West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah. We like Nutter Fort. We go through there quite often. I have a mother-in-law that doesn't live far from there.
There you go.
All right. So according to Harrison County Sheriff Robert Mahan, said law enforcement officers were there because the man had a warrant for his arrest. Officers believed he was armed, but Marthy said he could not confirm or deny if a weapon was found. Here's the scene. We have a fugitive at his father's funeral. And the police department and the marshal service thought it was a good idea to go arrest him there. And instead shot him.
That's really
a witness told W. Boy He, Jason, took his dad out and put him in the car, hearse, carried the casket out, and he came over and I was hugging him. The next thing I knew, somebody yelled, Jason, and then, boom, 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 Odell said. He didn't even have a chance to do nothing. Odell said she was hugging Jason when he was shot. I was hugging him because he was upset. The next thing I knew, someone yelled Jason and pow, 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 Odell said. I about got shot. I could feel the compressions of the bullets at his father's funeral. Now, I've worked with some dirty bounty hunters. I've worked with some shitty bounty hunters, and I've worked with some great professional bounty hunters. Guess what they don't do? Pick you up at a funeral home.
Well, moreover, typically that would be reserved for someone you just cannot otherwise locate at anywhere. You're at least going to wait for the funeral to end, a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
They will be here.
Mm-hmm.
At least let them pull out of the parking lot
and go down a block,
and then you pull them over, or at least attempt a stop.
Police officers can pull them over. Bounty hunters have to keep tracing them to wherever they go.
Right.
The graveyard, the mother's home after the funeral dinner. Mm-hmm. That is acceptable. This behavior is unacceptable, and I hope there's a full investigation. And I hope this family sues your ass, Marshall County, for every dime you have.
Harrison County, apparently.
Harrison County.
Yeah. No. This is a very screwed up arrest. I don't care if
right.
And it sounds like he produced a weapon. Is very flimsy at this point. And here's the thing, when you go back to his history,
right.
There was an attack on a law enforcement officer in 2018 that has been brought up. And that was from when a teenager, this is the story, this is from back in 2018, a teenager has been indicted on a murder charge in Harrison County. Memphis Murphy, 17, has been indicted for the murder of Chase Oliver in the Glen Elk area of Clarksburg. Murphy allegedly shot Oliver in the head in February. Oh, no, sorry. I shouldn't have read that one. This was just a listing. Sorry, this is very different. All right, sorry. That was my fault. I just launched into reading the article.
Right.
Without realizing this was just a listing of arrests.
Yeah.
So sorry. I'm sitting here having to be very, very careful here. So Jason Owens, let's go back. Jason Owens of Lumberport on one count of fleeing in a vehicle, showing a reckless indifference to the safety of others. One count of third or subsequent offense driving while license suspended or revoked for DUI. One count of strangulation. One count of disarming a law enforcement officer. One count of second offense battery on a government representative. And one count of fleeing from law enforcement by means other than use of a vehicle. That was his previous attack on law enforcement.
Right.
I would say this is very much how he ended up shot.
Right. Well, I think it's really hard for him to have a gun and be hugging somebody at the same time. That sounds like that's a real threat.
Yeah. There we go. I just had to send a quick message to let someone the person that we transport, let them know that, no, that's okay. They were going to have to work late, and we're still on air, so awesome. All right, so Lady Gwen says the two schools close to the area were on lockdown. The cousin stated on Facebook that he had no gun.
Yeah. not only is it being stated on Facebook, it's also being reported by the family members that he had no weapon. I want to see an incident report. I will be following this story. We will come back to it. But this is unprofessional behavior. You don't fuck with children. You don't fuck with funerals.
No. No. I mean, do you arrest him down the street from the funeral? Sure.
Yes.
Do you arrest them coming out of their mama's house?
Sure.
Do you arrest them on their way home after everything? Absolutely. You let them go to the funeral. You don't arrest them on the way to the funeral. Please don't arrest people on the way to the funeral.
Right.
You know, I like
have some common decent sense. A bounty hunter anywhere in this state will not touch the following. They normally, unless you're violent, do not put you in handcuffs in front of your children. They do not pick you up at the funeral home. They do not try to cause injury to you just to be doing it.
Yeah. And generally wouldn't even pick you up probably in front of your kid's school.
Right.
I mean, because again, like, you think it's bad to put the handcuffs on you in front of your children. Imagine doing it in front of all their friends.
Yeah, but bounty hunters are more fucking professional than Marshall County PD? Really, dudes?
Really? I think we're starting to see the end of police professionalism.
Yeah.
And like just having simple human decency.
Uh-huh.
Or this is a funeral. These are someone's kids. This, you know, like, hi, sorry, this doesn't need to occur in front of someone's kids. This does not need to occur at someone's funeral. Literally at the funeral home.
Right.
No, sorry. All right, it was stated that they started shooting and continued to shoot him as he was falling down. Then when he was on the ground, they handcuffed him and left him there.
Exactly.
That's even worse.
That's terrible. First of all, why are we shooting people fatally? Like, I'm sorry, back when I took weapons training, you start at the feet and work your way up. Normally, if you take them out by the knee, they're down.
Well, but we had a bit of this conversation back when we had the incident on 19 in Beckley.
Mm-hmm.
Is that basically, you know, police training is you shoot until they quit moving.
That's scary. And that's what I mean by that is scary. That is why we're having so many officer shootings. You shoot until they're just downed. Not keep shooting them if they have no weapon. If there is no visible weapons there, why keep shooting?
Yeah.
Why keep wasting not only somebody's life, but armory? Are your bullets that damn rusty that you got to get them out of your gun?
Yeah. There's a lot of problems that I think we can all agree exist in policing. That this, like, and I'm sorry, this is unfortunately where, and this is my opinion, take it for what it's worth, but I feel like with the horrible conditions we keep our prisons in, with the lack of, like, simple decency and human respect for human life that we see between law enforcement and just subjects of a criminal investigation, that with the tough on crime sentencing guidelines that we've created, that all of this is just becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger push towards all-out warfare.
Right.
Like, and the fact that we are giving police departments tanks and heavy, you know, artillery.
Right.
The fact that we are training officers in psychological warfare techniques, because I don't know what else to call it. Like, you're not going in for an investigation. You're going in with a presumption of guilt, and how can we coerce anything that we can use in court to convict you? Like, if you don't already know it, if you don't have friendly chats with police officers anymore.
Nah.
Like, I don't care if you're sitting in a police station. I don't care if they are arriving on the scene of an incident you called for. You are not having a friendly chat with your local police officer.
Right.
You are the subject of an investigation. Whether you made the complaint or not. Like, and that's a horrible way to think about law enforcement. That is not what law enforcement should be.
Well, what gets me, and this is after, many, working with many Bell's bondsmen in my lifetime, who also are normally private investigators, just FYI, that's how I know this. Most of the time, all they got to do is show up and go, all right, Barn, you fucked up. Let's take you in.
Well, I think that's what they
used. We got to do this shit. Let's go. Okay.
I think that's what they used to have to do.
That's what they still do.
Well, and I'd say there's some of that they do, and I'm sure they do it respectfully and decently and go, look, this is a situation. That's all there is. I think shows like, Dog the Bounty Hunter and some of the other bounty hunter shows especially have moved this up a notch.
Right.
I think that, and I think that, our police response has moved this up a notch.
Yeah.
I think our deteriorating prison system has moved this up a notch. I think that our sentencing guidelines and enhancements that effectively remove the need for a judge as anything other than a rubber stamp once evidence is submitted.
Right.
Like literally it's just robo-signing a conviction.
Right.
Like if your judge doesn't have the opportunity to make a choice because he's bound by, a law that says if you're convicted of this, you have to do this. There's no judicial discretion here.
Right.
There's none. There's no consideration of anything else.
Right.
You proved it. Now he has to robo-sign a conviction and a sentence.
Right.
That's it. That's all he's doing. He doesn't have to work here. Like, it's a very simple, open and shut.
Right.
And I think that's why we're often seeing judges reticent to involve, like we sit here and we get very, very mad with some of the cases that we see in which it's clear someone did what they're accused of. And then they get like this weirdo sentence or they're found not guilty.
Right.
And we sit here and we go, how the hell could you not?
Right.
And I think some of this is trying to avoid, like, I think it's a moment where the judge feels you're guilty.
Right.
They really honestly do, but they know that the minute that they say that word,
right,
the sentence for the crime you committed is going to so far overpower what you did as to be cruel and unusual.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I literally think we're starting to see this in sentencing, or because of sentencing guidelines, we're starting to see this in conviction.
Right.
In that we have judges avoiding finding someone guilty.
Right.
Or trying everything they can to get counsel.
Right.
To plea it down. Just plea it down. Get it down to something more reasonable. Like, we all know the son of a bitch is guilty, but let's plea this down to something in which I don't have to sentence them to 30 years in prison.
Right.
Because I think that's excessive.
Right.
But there's a law over here that says if I take the charge that you made and I find this person guilty, I have to sentence them to life in prison. I have to sentence them to 30 years in prison.
Right.
And I don't think that the sentence fits the crime. And so if you can't plea this out, I struggle with my own conscience.
Right.
That this is an unfair sentence for the crime committed. And I think we're seeing more defense attorneys play that card. And refusing to negotiate, knowing this judge is sitting on a fence where it's like, do I think you did something wrong? Yes.
Right.
Do I think you deserve 2, 5, 10 years in prison?
Right.
Sure. Do I think you deserve to go there for the rest of your life? For 30 years? For 40 years?
Right.
No, I do not.
Right.
I think that's cruel and excessive, and I would rather let you go free,
Mm-hmm.
knowing there's a high likelihood you're going to, go back out there and do the same shit thinking you're going to get off free every time,
Right.
than to put you in prison for an unfair sentence for the crime you've so far committed.
Right. All right. So let's move on to our funner topics before my blood pressure gets even redder.
Hey,
Are you the asshole?
All right. Am I the asshole for being strict with one daughter and lenient with the other? I, 44 female, am the mother of 2 wonderful girls. For the sake of privacy, call them Claire, 16 female, and Lucy, 15 female. I love them both very much, but I do not treat them the same. This is because their interests are different. Claire is not very good at school. She is always getting bad grades, and she simply can't focus. At first, we thought it was ADHD, but it turns out she's just not very academically gifted. On the other hand, Lucy is amazing at school, consistently top of her class, gets a 4.0 GPA, perfect grades, and all that. So what we have started doing is treating them differently. We realize that Claire is probably not going to university. I don't think she has good enough grades to get in, and wants to go to trade school anyway, so we respect that and allow her to go out and hang out with her friends. But because Lucy is so gifted, we have taken the opportunity to nurture her genius. We signed her up for a sort of math robotics camp. We ask her to do the next year's homework to stay ahead. We encourage her to do extracurricular activities. We get her to train for academic competitions, everything. A bit more controversially, they have different screen time limits, as Lucy is taking more academically rigorous coursework and needs to study and focus more. We live in the Bay Area, so it is very competitive to go to university here, which is why we are pushing her so much. We know she will thank us later in life that we have given her a good environment to encourage her intellect. The problem is that Lucy and I got into a fight where she asked me why Claire is allowed to go out and do non-academic things, and I replied that the reason is because they don't have the same ambitions. Lucy got mad and told me I was favoring Claire over her, to which I replied that this was not true. Truth be told, I love both of them equally and I want the best for both of them. But realistically, if Lucy doesn't spend her time preparing college apps, doing extracurriculars, and using her intellect, she is wasting it. While Claire doesn't need to spend as much time on her future as there is much less uncertainty. I feel bad and while I know I'm doing the right thing at the core, I feel like there might be something wrong with the way we have approached Lucy's education. Am I the asshole? Edit. People are accusing me of abandoning Claire. Claire knows and agrees with this arrangement, as I have looked into options for community college or trade school with her. Her GPA is not good enough for any university, and she knows it. I am in no way insulting her. She is very much aware of her situation. She is very pragmatic and responsible. Mom, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
I was with you there for a minute. Like, as in, I was there with you on Claire.
Right.
I'm there with you on Claire. I think you're doing right by Claire. Like, as in, you're not sitting here pushing Claire to be someone she's never going to be.
Right.
Now, I think maybe, you've been more pragmatic with her. And I think that was probably a good thing. But Lucy?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, you're pushing that child down a rabbit hole of anxiety and no life skills. No life to have life skills with.
Right.
Like, you are using her, like, you've basically been fair with Claire. But then you are abusing Lucy.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I think you're abusing Lucy. I think that just because Lucy is highly intelligent, then Lucy should be able to make the decisions of her own damn life path.
Yeah, and like, see, that's kind of where I thought this was going to go. I thought it was going to go the other way. I thought it was going to be like, we have one stupid kid, which is basically what they're saying. We have one dumb kid,
Mm-hmm.
and like, you know, like, hi, we don't care what she does or where she goes. You know, or we have one dumb kid and we keep trying to force them to do the thing that they are incapable of.
Right.
Like, Claire is not going to be a Nobel Prize winning physicist.
Right.
Like, more than likely, not going to happen for Claire.
Right.
At least not based on this part of her life. Let her go be the best Claire she can be.
Exactly.
I thought that was the argument this one was going to generate. I really did. I thought that was going to be it. Is that Lucy is the one that gets to go to parties and do her thing because, of course, her grades are perfect, because this all comes naturally to her, and this was the argument we were going to read.
Right.
Not the argument. Not the argument. What you're doing is you are putting Lucy on a treadmill.
Right.
In which basically she is getting punished and forced into this academic gifted box where you make her perform.
Right.
And you never let her be the kid that she still is.
Right.
Like, that's a problem. I know that college and universities and, you know, all of this is very rigorous.
Right. But the other part of this, and the more important part of this, is that you're being an asshole. If the child wants college and Harvard, then send them down and say, this is what you got to do to get there. You have this amount of time to do it. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But let them live their life in the meantime.
Exactly.
They're going to let them be as the stupid kid now.
Right.
Like, even if you have a 4.0 GPA and a perfect score on the SAT and the ACT, and you are early admitted for Harvard, you need to go through the stupid kid portion of life and do stupid things.
Right.
Do it now, not in your late 20s when you have a job and like you throw everything away, or your 30s when you lose a house, or your 40s when you have your kids taken away from you.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't forget that inside this very intelligent human is a child who doesn't need
go
to
out
be
and see their friends and go to the park and go to the mall and go get ice cream and go have personal time, because what you're creating is probably going to be an intelligent nightmare.
Yeah.
Because if they do not have social skills in high school, they will not have social skills in college. If they don't have social skills in college, then they're more apt to become problematical and drop out.
Well, not to mention, and general life skills of those moments when intelligence won't get you anywhere. It's not about intelligence. You can do Sudoku in ink. You can do the Sunday crossword in ink. But then there are situations in life where that's not going to help you.
Right.
It's lived experience. It's things you know because you've been through it. It's the confidence that you can do this really weird, not about your intelligence thing.
Right.
And survive.
Right.
Or make a mistake and it be okay.
Right.
Like, we push this academic excellence and we create these little tiny, like, humans in a box.
Right.
Like, they're little lab rats.
Right.
That we push harder and harder and harder. And it's like, but you forgot they were a child.
Right.
That they wanted sleepovers and to go to the movies and talk about dumb shit with their friends and, you know, spend an afternoon on the couch watching SpongeBob or what the fuck ever. And that's okay. That's part of, like, childhood and late childhood. This is normal and it's perfectly okay.
Right.
Like, stop treating them like they're a 40-year-old accountant. Like, that's not, it's not cool.
It's not cool. It's not allowing them to enjoy their childhood. All right. So on to, since it's not embarrassed, we're taking poly relationship advice.
All right. So disclosure. How much do you tell your partner and when. Previously, I've been in monogamous relationships that opened up, and in those, the level of disclosure was pretty high. We disclosed as soon as possible whenever either of us had a date plan, and we disclosed anytime things became sexual with a new or non-routine partner. If something sexual or romantic happened spontaneously, we'd disclose that either beforehand or as soon as possible. Basically, there were very few surprises, and if either of us had not proactively disclosed any of the above, it would have been seen as a breach of trust. Now, I'm in a relationship that's been poly from the beginning. Since I met my partner, G, I have continued swiping but haven't gone on any new dates. I'm assuming they haven't either since they haven't mentioned dates. G has existing long-distance partners and they tell me when they see those partners. As I was swiping today, though, I saw someone pop up in my Tinder deck who I know G has sporadically dated in the past. Sort of a comment situation. The comment doesn't live here, but apparently they're in town. The comment isn't one of the G's regular partners who they talk about often, and I've only heard G mention the comment's existence once or twice in past tense, leading me to believe that it isn't really an active thing. I have a feeling that G might be planning to see their comment. G hasn't told me that they plan to see this person, but they did vaguely allude to being busy and wanting to see me one night this weekend rather than the usual two. If that's the case, I feel pretty weird about it, but I'm trying to parse the weird feeling. My question is, in your relationship, what are your guidelines surrounding disclosure? If G planned to see this person and didn't tell me in advance, would that be all right under your guidelines? If G saw this person and had sex with them and didn't plan to tell me unless I asked, would that be okay with you? With G, I'm trying to do polyamory in a freer way, and I'm genuinely trying to figure out what is a reasonable level of disclosure born of trust and honesty and respect, and what is me being sort of jealous and monogamy-brained and wanting to keep tabs on people. I know reasonable differs for everyone, but basically, I'm curious to hear other people's relationship to disclosure. If G is planning to see this person and being purposefully vague, rather than just telling me, I must say I would feel weirded out. Would you? I'm not that concerned about what they do in the specific situation, but my vague sense of betrayal made me realize that I need to figure out what G and my guidelines are, since we haven't really. Thank you. Here's the thing with comments. I want to start there, and just to explain this for anyone not getting it. Comets are like the literal thing in the sky. They only pass through at certain intervals, and we don't see them for an extended period of time. They are a person that comes in town, maybe to see family, maybe for a work thing, maybe for an annual conference, whatever. They swing through periodically, and it's maybe a 1 or 2 night possibility.
Right.
Okay, that's a comet.
Right.
Second part of a comet is usually they're pretty vague.
Right.
Like, generally speaking, they have people that they know in an area. They don't make a lot of solid plans.
Right.
They typically are last minute kind of people.
Right.
Like,
we refer to them as D-string.
No, that's a different thing.
Well, I call them my D-string.
Okay, you call them D-string.
Meaning, damn it, I ain't got nothing else to do.
Okay, fair enough. They can be that. They can be that. Now, I will say that there are comet people, and that's all they are. They just happen to be in town for an event or whatever. You happen to have proximity. It can be really difficult when you're in that situation of they might want to do, like they've let you know they're in the area.
Right.
They might want to get together, but they don't know. They got to figure out their plan and blah, blah, blah. And they're really not typically very organized people. And you kind of accept that because that's part of like the mysterious allure or whatever of comet people.
Right.
Is, you know, like Bridges of Madison County is where this is at, basically.
Right.
If you've seen the movie, you get the reference, you get the idea.
Right.
And so you may not know until literally the day of, the hour of, that you're actually going to do something with them.
Right.
Um, I struggle with that one in terms of, so what do you want G to tell you?
Right.
That I maybe might possibly get to see and or do something with this person that I don't normally get to see or do anything with, because they may or may not have a commitment that will or will not allow us to meet up potentially at some point that I don't know when, to do something that may or may not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just gonna,
stupid.
like, that's the Laffy Taffy you would be pulling out of G at this point, because there's nothing definitive to say.
Exactly. Furthermore, oh my God, the hours of fucking conversation that would need to be had with the level of disclosure he wants in our everyday life.
Yeah, well, and granted, some people want more disclosure, and I understand that, and
I
I think
understand
it's,
that. But
and I think it's more so not being around. Like, I think or their current problem with G is they're not even used to this level
right.
of comment.
Right.
Like, I think they're used to a far more organized comment, and you do run into those.
Yeah. Like in
it's
August, X, Y, and Z come in.
Yeah.
Or in July and February, I see Jake.
Yeah. Whatever.
But the level of disclosure that OP is asking for, my God, I should just include you in every damn text message, per profile, and comment.
Oh God, kill me now. Like, I have a general rule: until I am sure something would happen.
Right.
Like, when like, and I know this is different for everyone, and I think you have to accept this is what G's doing. Is what is my confidence level anything is going to occur at all? Like, are we going to dinner?
Right.
I don't know. Are we going to meet up in a park? I don't know. Are we going to go to a movie? I don't know.
Right.
Will I run into them at the supermarket? I don't know.
Right.
That's the confidence level it sounds like G's at.
Right.
That's all they've got is, I don't know.
Right. And let's be blatant about ours.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get told if someone's coming over, if I'm expecting out of town guest, before.
Out of town is the one I really care about.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, just literally, I'm probably lower on the side of disclosure need of the two of us. Well, no, I mean, I think even, pardon?
Pre-factor, we're very low on disclosure.
Well, but I think even, like, I'm lower also on actual.
Right.
Like, what I need is just like, I did a thing with a person. Okay, great. Like, you could literally say that, and I'd just be like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Like, whatever, I don't care.
Right.
Like, I do care. Mm-hmm. Let me clarify that, because I've said that before, and I've had people think that I meant that differently. Mm-hmm. What I mean is, I care about his health, safety, like, humanity.
And hate
being okay. Like, are you going to get shot? Are you going to get arrested? Are you going into an unsafe situation? Are you going to be, like, gambling? Or, like, what? That part I care about. I assume that as an adult, he will make safe, responsible decisions. Right. And not go into a situation in which he is unsafe in that regard.
Right.
So therefore, go do what you're going to do. I don't think there's a risk.
Right.
You're not going to show back up for 5 days, and that may or may not be in a ditch.
Right.
That's the safety I look for. Now, like fluid exchange and all that he is a grown adult and he does whatever he wants to do, and I'm fine with that.
Right.
I understand the risks that poses for me. Mm-hmm. I make decisions about my health based on the risks I'm willing to accept or not.
Right.
That's all you can do in ethical non-monogamy.
Right. At the same time, we're nesting partners. Yes, I have a little nest called a den, and I have 2 nesting partners. Both of you get the same level of disclosure. And it's normally 1 of 3 levels of disclosure. Such and such is going to be in town next weekend. We may go out to dinner. And this is mentioned on Sunday when we sit down and lay out plans. Because the factors is, if I'm out to dinner, it affects both of them.
Yeah. Well, depending on a few factors, yeah. Like, are you taking the car out when you go out to dinner? Are you, like, what are we doing for dinner? Do I need to fend for myself?
Right.
Which I'm fine with. It's not like I'm going to be
Right.
eating, like, banquet dinners. I mean, like, do I get to have my pesto or no?
Right.
Like, no.
Right.
Like, that's where I'm generally at with that.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, like, I don't know what to do there. Like, okay, thank you for the information is basically where I'm at. Is like, okay, so there's a possibility that
Right.
we need to do a thing.
Right. Or that they move around the situation. And what I mean by that is I have comets that'll come in town, and instead of booking the Holiday Inn, they book the Aeson Inn, and they're here for a weekend.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's generally my reaction to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have more reaction and more care or concern if you were to bring up someone that I know there is a negative history with.
Right.
Like, because then that goes into my safety thing is like, wait, what's going on?
Right.
Oh, Duddy says we're a nice place to stay.
Thank you. But there's more discussion about, like, if Dottie's coming up for the weekend,
mm-hmm.
then there's discussion if Kentucky comes into town.
Yeah, that's like two different discussions.
Yeah, it's two different discussions.
Yeah.
It's a more of a conversation, and I love my husband. He's wonderful. So Aeson went out of home for a date.
Uh-huh.
He was mad I came home.
Wait, which one was this?
Anstead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? Like, that wasn't much of a date.
Yeah. And it was like, no, it was a lovely date. We enjoyed ourselves. We had a great dinner. Some good conversation. Was an enjoyable time.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm cool with that. It was
Right.
just like, I was like, in my head was more like, well, this could turn into an overnight. They haven't seen each other in a while. Like, there were really good reasons why not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm cool with that. Y'all want to get drunk and be like, boys together doing things. Rock it.
Right.
Rock it. Y'all spend the night, have fun. Like, if you're not going to be home in 48 hours, I need a message.
Right.
I need to understand some things we might have to make a plan.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm cool.
Uh-huh.
I'm
again,
not.
You were like, is everything okay? You're home early. And I'm like, we done dinner, movie, time. I'm home.
Yeah. I don't know. I figured when it finally happened that y'all were able to get together.
Right.
It would be a while. And I was cool with that. Because typically, like, I generally have a rule with Aeson. There is no such thing as a less than 2 hour date.
Right.
And that's if he sees you daily.
Yeah.
Like, that's us.
Yeah.
Like, we cannot have a 2 hour date.
No.
I assume the longer he does not see someone, the longer that date's going to be. And this had been a while.
About 3 years.
At least.
And
so I'm expecting this could be like 48 to 72 hours easy. Easy. Like, easy could be that long. So when you were back within, like, what, 3 hours?
3 hours.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here going, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Like, I know this was all, like, in my head. Like, we didn't really talk about it, but I'm sitting here going, yeah, he says he'll be back in a few hours. Like, I'm expecting a call that says, so I'll be spending the night. Is that okay? It'll be like, yeah, I kind of expected that.
Yeah.
And that would be my delivery, not because I'm angry, but because it's like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, let me tell you about you, okay? Like,
Yeah.
you might be the psychic, but let me tell you who knows you better.
Right. Well, since we've got a few minutes, let's kind of talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
Since you've gotten to hang out with my ex.
I have. Yes, we've got to talk
and
about
some of my current partners, and you live with me, and you live with the current partner. What are some things that are interesting about dating the Aeson?
There's a lot of things interesting about dating the Aeson, and all right, fine. We're going to tell you on air what I think of this. And these are the same for working with Aeson. These are the same for being friends with Aeson. He is really crunchy on the outside. He has a diamond-plated exterior. That's because internally he's a giant goo. Like, he is a fucking Cadbury egg that is diamond encrusted, okay? He yells, he screams, he blows up, he does all kinds of things, and you can literally come away thinking he hates you. And what it is he has this very soft, gooey core that he tries very hard to protect. And he does that by being this loud, angry sounding person. It's because he's hurt. And so you will inadvertently, I think more often than not, and sometimes intentionally because you don't want to get hurt again, will be really gruff with people, especially exes. Like, you have probably threatened more exes on air than we have time to recount.
I haven't threatened them. It's promises, honey.
The reality is, at the end of the day, once you get through the diamond-crusted exterior, he's just a great big giant goo. Yeah. And he's going to help you, and he's going to do the thing, and he's going to huff, and he's going to gruff, and he's going to sound hateful, but he's still going to do the thing and be a decent human being and be kind to you. With only minor exceptions.
Yeah. You have to push me to my barrier of fuck off.
Yeah, like, you have one ex that, honestly, if you were going to go try to be nice to, then I have reservations.
Right.
And that it's just one ex, and it's because of the shit that they've pulled long term. That it's like psycho. We literally call them psycho. I would have. Okay.
Living. Now we have to separate living and dead with me. I have two that I would not spit on if they were on fire.
Yeah. Well, but I think for you, you've had to draw for yourself as part of that diamond-crusted, armor, some very hard lines with people, because if you get brought back in, they're gonna get through to the goo, and then you're just gonna help them to death.
Right.
And I think that's a large part of why you get so gruff with people, is in hopes that they will just self-select not to go through that. And just, find someone else.
Right.
Find another option.
Right.
And I think that's probably the bigger Aeson truth.
Right.
Is that, you're generally a big cuddly teddy bear. You just happen to be wearing spiked armor.
Yes.
So yes, it does occasionally get really crunchy and hurty. But it's not because you're a horrible person. It's quite the opposite. It's the exact opposite, really.
Right.
Is that that once they get through to the soft, cuddly teddy bear, they're going to walk all over you.
Right. To a point.
Well, yeah.
I have my
everyone
role.
Everyone has limits. Everyone has limits, and I think we all have that.
Right. And often the times I'm yelling, screaming, bitching, moaning, telling you exactly what the fuck you're doing wrong is because I know better.
Sometimes. But no, he literally only has... I'm just curious who the second ex is. You're going to have to throw that one in chat. Like, Psycho, I would be like, no. No, you do not get to go help Psycho and push their car out of the driveway of anywhere. Because I don't know that you come home from that. Like, I don't think there's any safety for that one. Yeah. Okay, so that one
has now been referred to you.
Yeah. I would have less concern than with Psycho if you went and helped that one.
Mm-mm.
Now, I'm going to probably be very, very on that one just because they have a bad history.
Right.
Of, like, being granted an inch and taking a mile. So I'm going to be ready to be like, no. No, I can be the bitch in this situation, and you can tell them.
Right.
Point blank. Your current partner says no.
Right.
Because, see, here's the funny part, is all y'all think that, like, y'all are scared of him.
Right.
Here's the thing. Y'all are scared of Aeson. So you come to me because you think I'm the pushover.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's so adorable.
Uh-huh.
Because I just give people a lot of slack and grace and room. And it usually works out for me, and I don't have to do anything, and I get to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to see me angry. Like, I'm the flip opposite. I'm a goo-covered fucking diamond.
Uh-huh.
I will cut your ass.
But at the same time, there, I don't know. I think dating me is complicated. One, because I get pissed off if you're late. Two, I expect you to hold your word. Three, you got to be honest. If I catch you lying once, you're fucked.
Well, moreover, I think a lot of that has to do with you expect once means a million.
Uh-huh.
On like, and it's not really always lying that you respond to. It's the less than 100% like light swinging in an interrogation room truth.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, not everything is that clear cut. Well, it isn't. Like, some things are multiple things, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some of those conversations over time that, yeah, you're probably right in your assertion of what you see of it.
Right.
But then again, sometimes as the person experiencing a thing,
right,
the biggest lie I'm telling is to myself.
Right.
And, I think it's important to have consideration for people when when the person they're lying to the most is themselves.
Right.
Like, because I went through that with black hole number 1 and black hole number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who got lied to the most in all of that,
right,
regardless of how you may ever feel, was me.
Right.
I lied to myself countless times, repeatedly, because I wanted to believe, I chose to believe, despite all evidence to the contrary,
right,
that those two people were people that cared about me,
right,
were helpable, and were asking for reasonable amounts of help in their lives. This is two exes of mine. We now refer to them as Black Hole 1 and Black Hole 2.
Right.
That we were friends.
Right.
That this is within the bounds of friendship. And that I was not being manipulated over and over and over again.
Right.
But let me tell you, once we got through all the goo of Joe, and all the times that I had given them opportunity,
right,
and grace, and accepted that what they were telling me was true,
Mm-hmm.
Once we got past all the goo,
right,
I have not been kind.
Right.
I was quite rude.
Right.
And will continue to be quite rude towards both of them. And that is probably a very long-term grudge.
Mm-hmm.
There's no getting back to the goo. You're trapped in the diamond with Joe, to run this metaphor to its conclusion. You're trapped in that diamond.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't getting out. There's no kindness left for you.
Right.
You ate up all of that to get in that diamond.
Right.
Like, that's my metaphor. I'm sticking to it. You're not
riding it all the way to the train.
Yeah. And I have problem with either one of them because one did contact me a little while back, and I still haven't. And I, like you actually encouraged. They were asking for pictures from their mother's wedding that I had taken.
Mm-hmm.
And you had actually encouraged me to go ahead and send those to them.
Right.
And I burned them on, I found them, I burned them on a disc, and then I'm sitting here going, I really don't care.
Right.
I really don't care to do this. I really don't care to make their life easier or give them anything whatsoever.
Right.
And that's really, I get how harsh that is. But it's like, no.
Yeah.
You have literally done nothing.
Right.
They have.
Right.
I mean, literally done nothing for me in my life ever.
Right.
But try to find opportunities to manipulate and use me.
Right.
And I really don't want to find out if there's a way that you can turn, please burn these photos to a CD and send them to me, into yet another manipulation.
Right.
I'm done. Find someone else. Find another way.
Right.
Get used to not having those photos.
Yeah.
They will continue to sit on my hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
I could easily mail you a disc. I just don't want to.
Right.
I'm a real bitch about it.
Right.
Sorry about the choices you made in your life that got me to this point.
Right.
Because I'm generally really nice. This is why people think I'm a pushover, is because generally speaking, I will bend over backwards. I would have, for anyone else, I would have burned those files to a disk, stopped at Walmart, printed them out for you, and hand delivered them to your mother. For anyone else. Anyone else.
Right.
That's what I would have been willing to do, and would have been thrilled to do it, would have been happy about it. Maybe tried to make it into a not special trip, in terms of I'm doing something else that day.
Right.
But otherwise, I would have conceivably gone to Walmart, paid for photos, handed you a disc and photos at your mother's door, and been like, how are you? How have you been? Is there anything I can help you with?
Right.
Hope you enjoy the photos. It was great catching up with you.
Right.
No, not where I'm at right now. Not where I will ever be again. You burned that.
Right.
You salted the earth and burned that.
Right.
So, no, that's where I'm at with that. I thought about it. You even encouraged it. Said, okay, fine, go ahead, do that.
Right.
That's no, sorry, your mother's going to pay for that.
Yeah.
Because the connection to you.
Well, not only that, but the connection in general has been very atrocious, and we will put it to atrocious. One thing I do have a major problem with is respect. Like, me and respect go a long way. But anyway, we've been on for 2.5 hours. Thank you guys for joining us. We know we came on early. We may be coming on earlier. We still have to figure out scheduling to make sure everything works. As the household has changed, and with the household changing, sometimes other things have to change. With that, though, I hope you have a blessed weekend. Remember, tomorrow is Psychic Saturday and New Brew. And I do still have my tarot course and my the old laws class going on. Please be sure to check those out. Patreons, you will be getting links to those. Inner Circle, you'll be getting links to those so that you guys can just hop on in like you always do.
Absolutely. So let's fire through it. We do want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Gish, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, Donna White, and the Laughing Tree Grove. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcsbnetwork.com.
And happy birthday, Ashley.
Oh, happy birthday, Ashley.
Yes, we know you're part of the rewatch crew. All right, guys, we will see you later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no fight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder.